Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're here joining again this week from the Gold Coast in Australia, Amanda Hall Psychic. For those of you that have been tuning in over the last couple of months, we've been having an exciting journey here on Moonstruck TV. Each week we feature a Simply Tarot card of the week. We also talk a little bit about what's happening in the universe, and we have a 4-part continuing series that we're working our way through the planets in the zodiac. So this week we're going to start the beginning of our 4-part series in Venus. So I'd like to kick the show off this week and sort of talk about the full moon in Capricorn. Now, I've had lots of messages, lots of private messages, lots of phone calls in the last 48 hours. And people asking me, what on earth is going on? Why am I feeling so frumpy? Why am I feeling so cranky? Why am I feeling tired? Why am I feeling emotional? Why are things coming back into my mind that I haven't thought of in 30 years? What's wrong with me? Am I losing my mind? Well, the answer to all of the above is absolutely not. Nobody's losing their mind. Nobody seems to have missed this full moon. The full moon, luckily, is tapering off now, and we should all start to get back to some sort of sanity and normality. And I'll put my hand up and I'll say, yes, me too. It's been a very, very powerful full moon in Capricorn. It started on Sunday, depending on where you are in this amazing globe of ours, at what time of the day that it actually kicked in for you. But as the full moon's been progressing through the sign of Capricorn, it actually sort of sat there and held hands with Pluto. And Pluto's the planet of transformation and digging up things that we thought we'd long buried. So this almighty full moon actually dug up stuff that we just didn't want to deal with. And for some people, they had uncontrollable tears because I think it was bouncing off or opposing the sun in Cancer. So it was a very emotional push-pull tug-of-war time. So I'm pleased to say the energy is tapering off. If you want to know a little bit more about the full moon in Capricorn, I did put a post up on Sunday night on my Facebook page, Amanda Hall Psychic. You can read a little bit more about it there. So it's been an interesting year of moons, and we're heading into a very busy cycle with the moons. Next month we're going to have a couple of new moons in the 1 month, so that's going to be pretty exciting. But I always sort of like it when the energy starts to head towards a fire sign, and that's probably because I am a fire sign, so I'm counting down the minutes until the energy moves out of Cancer and into Leo, where I'll start to feel a little bit more comfortable. And I know a lot of you will be feeling the same way. And that doesn't mean that we don't like it when the sun's in Cancer. It's just for some people it feels more comfortable than others. And for me, it's always a time of the year, because here in Australia it's winter time and it's not my favourite time of the year. I always sort of tend to think it's a time to sort of slow down, do a bit of soul searching, look at where your life's going for the next 12 months and get ready for when the warmer weather comes along and you get motivated again. But for our darling friends that are in the Northern Hemisphere, where you're in your beautiful summer period, where you're out and about and having barbecues and enjoying the beautiful weather, you guys are all energised. So, you know, you're sort of powering ahead with the things that you need to bring about into your lives. So it's a very interesting time depending on where we live in this amazing planet of ours. So we're now going to talk about what the card of the week is, and I purposely left this till after we had our little talk about the full moon in Capricorn, because I want to be able to give everybody something positive to hang on to for this next week, because this moon was really powerful. And as I said, I didn't escape it. And you'd think with all my knowledge and understanding of planetary configurations and how they dance around this amazing universe of ours that I would have a little bit of a head start. Well, I can assure you this one caught me off guard too. If we'd been on air yesterday, it might have been a very different show because I was unable to stop the tears. So, you know, we all have these little times in our lives. So anyway, let's go on to something much more positive, because I like positivity. So the card of the week this week is the Nine of Pentacles. Now, the Nine of Pentacles is peace of mind and contentment. So I feel that that's an amazing card to sort of follow up our full moon in Capricorn, because it means now that we're all going to get a little bit of peace of mind. We're all going to get some contentment in our lives. And this is an amazing thing that I think that if we can sort of head into the next 7 days feeling, okay, I've got a bit of peace in my belly, I can bring things towards me that I really want to. So it's very, very, very interesting the next week ahead, as I feel that we're all going to start to probably get a few psychic flashes and sort of get some inspiration on where we need to be going. So the card of the week is one of my own cards. I designed a set of tarot cards about 13 years ago now called the Simply Tarot set with a publisher here in Australia called Hinkler Books. They have been sold worldwide. So each week I feature a card out of that. So we're going to continue on with our mini astrology lessons that we've been having here on my show. And this week I'm pleased to say we're going to move into the planet Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. And that always conjures up in people's minds, oh, okay, this is the type of love romance that I'm supposed to have in my mind and in my mind's eye and what I'm looking for as far as a relationship. Well, yes, it can be all those things. But also Venus is the planet of what we love to do, the things that give us the most pleasure, the things that we enjoy in our lives, the things that we like to attract to us. It describes how we look at the arts or how we look at films or how we even look at music. It's the things that give us pleasure. It's also said to be a little bit cheeky in some ways because depending on where Venus is sometimes how we judge other people. You know, some people say, oh, I couldn't possibly fall in love with someone with red hair. That wouldn't suit me. Or I can't have somebody that's got a big nose. Or I can't have somebody that has this or that or the other. And that comes from Venus, actually. And, you know, we all have our little idiosyncrasies of what we think is the perfect person for us in our lives. So this week we're going to kick it off with Aries, Taurus and Gemini. So Venus in Aries is a very interesting placement because Venus and Aries together are an interesting combination on their own because Venus says, okay, this is what I love to do. This is the type of relationship I'd like to attract in my life. And Aries says, well, there's only me. There's only room for me in this relationship. There really isn't any room for anyone else, is there? Isn't it all about me? So sometimes you'll find people that have Venus in Aries tend to attract people in their lives that aren't what I term as a clinging violet, people that are very independent, people that like to sort of spend time on their own. They're very comfortable being in a long-distance relationship sometimes because it gives them that freedom, that ability to have quality time to themselves, but they're also usually not very jealous and usually not very demanding. Yes, they like being in relationships and they don't have a problem with it, but they need some elbow room as well. So that's a really important part. If you've got Venus in Aries, remember the fact that you need a little bit of elbow room, and that might be why you attract relationships towards you where people also require a little bit of space. Now we move on to Venus in Taurus. Now, Venus actually rules the planet of Taurus. So Venus and Taurus are holding hands, are very, very comfortable here. So Venus in Taurus quite often gives you a sweet tooth. It says that you like the finer things in life, that you usually enjoy food, and quite often you may be attracted to food as an industry or something that you like to write about or blog about or share with us on social media. But Venus in Taurus also tells us that you like good quality. You like things to be very pleasing to the eye, you like comfortable furniture to sit on, and you like things to last the test of time. You don't want to be spending your hard-earned cash too often. You want to buy quality to begin with and still have it in 30 years' time. So there's a lot to be said for that, but Venus in Taurus usually appreciates the beauty in everything. So now we move on to the final sign that we're going to be working with this week, and that's Venus in Gemini. Now, this is really interesting because Venus in Gemini says, oh, I love you, and I love you, and I love you, and I love you. And Venus really can't make up their mind between one opportunity to another or one lover to another sometimes. So they really have to learn to become very focused and say, write a list and stick to it about the type of person that maybe they would like a serious relationship with. Yes, this can keep a relationship interesting, but if you have a partner that is anyway a little bit possessive or jealous, this can really create havoc in your relationship. So if you have Venus in Gemini, just be aware that sometimes the goalposts will change in what makes you happy in a relationship, and maybe you just have to learn to be versatile and learn some stickability to add to that versatility. And also attract a partner that also understands your need for change, so that they can give you enough space for you to sort of chop and change your mind and don't get too upset with you and just think, oh yes, well there they go again, off on another one of their little Venus in Gemini tangents, and they'll be home soon and everything will go back to normal. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Sharky in, I better put my glasses on for this one because I definitely will pronounce this wrong. So it's Sharky in Elgo in the Netherlands, Holland. So
greetings. Hi.
How help you, sweetie? I know I've pronounced it wrong, and I do apologise.
It's okay. Hengelo. It's a hard name.
It is, yes. How can I help you?
Well, I have a question about the full moon was here recently, and usually I go through an intense clean out with full moon. But sometimes, too, I have premonitions, and I'm not sure. There's some things coming to surface. I don't know if this is a fear or a premonition about my father. I have a lot of sadness. Last year, I saw my father after 11 years. And it's something happened when I was 17. I had a premonition dream that something was going to happen with my parents, between them. No one believed me, but it ended up happening with my father and another woman. Right. And my parents ended up making up, and everything went fine. And now, years later, again, 2 days before the full moon, some feelings start coming to surface again. So now I'm just so confused. Is my father loyal to my mother or not? Because most of the time they're always together. Okay. I'm not sure. Is this just a fear of mine?
It can be a fear of yours. Number one, what you've got to understand, the full moon's job is to bring things out of the subconscious or the unconscious mind into our conscious mind. Yes, sometimes it can be a premonition or a psychic flash like you had when you were 17 and no one believed you when it happened. So you're now having the same sort of feelings coming back to the surface again. But what I feel this time is it's not a premonition, it's not a psychic flash. It's just now because you're more mature, you're able now to bring this to the surface and deal with it now as a grown-up, not as a 17-year-old teenage child who was really struggling between why would this happen, why would my dad cheat on my mum, all those sort of emotions that you wouldn't have been able to understand as a 17-year-old. So now what you're doing is bringing it up as almost like a fear. So what I want you to do is just look at it and own it and say, now please be gone. Let go of it. Release it, because it's something that needs to be released out of your psyche, out of your body, because it's something that you no longer need. I mean, common sense tells you mum and dad have made up. Mum and dad spend a lot of time together now and they seem to be happy. And that's what you need to accept, is they are happy. They are happy with their life working out the way that they want it to. So it's not a matter now of wondering whether your father is being faithful to your mother. It's not that at all. It's you needing to release that energy that you locked away, those memories that you locked away when you were 17. And we all do it. We all lock things away for later on for whatever reason. And it doesn't come to the surface until we are emotionally ready to deal with it again. And sometimes that may take, 10, 20, 30 years before we're ready to deal with it. But the thing is, the trouble is we remember the emotions that we locked away at the age we were. So the emotions that you're now bringing to the surface are of a 17-year-old girl. Not quite a woman, not quite understanding it. And you're trying to rationalise it and look at it and say, well, hang on a minute, why did I look at it that way when today I would look at it maybe slightly differently or with a more mature outlook, because you're a grown woman now and you've obviously had some changes in your life over the time. and have, a relationship or two. So, you can see things in a much bigger picture. So, no, I wouldn't be concerned about it. It's not uncommon for people to start to feel the energy of the full moon, anything up to 4 days before it actually hits us. So the more you work with it and the more you acknowledge it, it sort of seems like you get an early mark on it. You get a head start on the next full moon because you're acknowledging it and working with the energy. So don't be too hard on yourself. I think now that we've had this little chat about it, you'll probably find now it will start to wane. It'll start to dissipate. You probably won't get those emotions. And this full moon we've just finishing off now has been an incredibly powerful one, and bringing up just
exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I didn't even escape it. For all my knowledge, I didn't escape it. So, and I was pretty. So, that's why I like to share these things so that we can all understand that we're not the only one.
Strange thing is that the night before this happened, my mother was watching a movie on Lifetime or something with a man cheating on a younger woman, and suddenly these feelings start coming to surface. That's why I thought, could this be my fear and not actually that it's happening? Because it started after my mom started crying for the movie.
Absolutely. But see the release that was there? It was divine timing that she actually watched that movie. You watched it together. It brought up all her old emotions to be released. It brought up your fears as well. So what a
I'm covered in goosebumps as you're talking the whole time.
Yeah, so in healing experience. So just sort of say a little thank you for, this opportunity to heal and to be there for each other, which is amazing. So I hope you have a good week, and it was lovely to speak with you.
Thank you so much for this assurance. Have a wonderful day.
I certainly will. Thank you, sweetheart. I look forward to connecting with you again one day soon. Now we're going to go to Heidi in McAllen in Texas, USA. Hello, are you there, Heidi?
Yes, I'm here.
How can I help you today, sweetie? Do you have a particular question you would like me to answer?
Well, I just have maybe, no, not really. It's like something general. The main thing, one of the things I do want to know is there any children in my future? But the rest is more financial business stuff that I'm wondering about.
Children's always a very tricky area because it's technically something we're not supposed to talk about as far as in readings, and particularly in the US, and the same here in Australia. But what I can tell you is that I have the energy here of 2 pregnancies. Now, if you haven't had any pregnancies, any terminations or any miscarriages, then there is the energy of 2 pregnancies.
Okay.
So I still feel that there's going to be a baby that you'll be nursing in your arms. So, at least one of those. So if not 2. So there's the energy of 2 pregnancies. And to me, they were still to come. I didn't feel they were past.
Okay.
So that's good.
Now, as far as, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you want to go on to business?
Yeah, I'm not starting a new business, but I'm reinventing it, and I'm wondering if that's going to be fruitful. I believe it will be, but it's just we've tried it before, and it keeps stopping. So I'm wondering if it's me that's stopping it, or what the deal is with that.
No, number one, I think you've got to take the pressure off yourself. I don't think that's you that's stopping the potential growth of the business. Business to me is something that you've got to keep working at. It's not something that, okay, you open the doors and we've got this brilliant idea and people flock in and do whatever, and then it's sort of like, oh, well, that's it, we've done it now, we just keep doing more of the same. No, business is something that's always evolving, growing, changing. Mm-hmm. We're always constantly reinventing business. If you ever stop trying to find new ways to reach your potential customer base or to move along with the times, then I think you may as well shut the doors, because that's not what business is about, particularly not in this century anyway. It's about being, constantly coming up with new ideas, constantly coming up with ways that you can be ahead of the marketplace. But what they were showing me was September this year seems to be a real turning point for you. I feel that there has been a number of endings, changes and transformations in the early part of 2017 as far as the business is concerned. You have done the soul searching, you've crunched the numbers, you've looked at things in the correct way of looking at it in the third person. By that I mean you took the emotion out and you looked at it. You said, okay, we've got a set of cards here. Now, what are these doing? Are these selling? Are these working for us? Do our customers want them? I'll just use that as the example. And you've sat down and sort of looked at it and came up with your answers and then decided yes or no, do we keep it? No, we get rid of it. So these are hard things to do because the groundwork in your business always changes. So they're saying to me the things that you've actually cut out or decided to remove or sort of pension off were the right things to do, so that there will be some tremendous insight over the next 6 weeks of what you need to be doing next. I actually sort of feel I think we expanded the business and had too much, too many choices, too many things, and things got lost in the clutter of everything. So what they're showing me is pare it back, prune it back to some basic things and then add on to that, because I still feel you've got the makings of a really successful business. It was just one of those things like a lot of small business people do. You try and be everything to everybody, but you lose sight of why you went into business to begin with was to do X, Y, Z. And that's what I think you need to do, is get back to basics and then build from that basic platform again. And I think this time you'll have the right recipe. It's been trial and error, but that's what business is about, is trial and error and the fun along the way, and hopefully not too many grey hairs.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's the same thing that I'm getting to. I just needed some confirmation, because I'm, like I said, we've been trying certain things, and it's like every time there's a stop, it's like something stops it, and then we try again, so we try to reinvent it, and then we stop again, and then but this time it just feels different, and I just wanted to see, because our financial situation is not the best, and I want that to improve, so we can have some kind of future. But that's mainly my main concern. I'm not really, well, maybe one more thing. I'm looking at, is there anything that I need to do to improve the gifts and talents that I have? Is there somebody around me that's helping me spiritually? Because that's another thing that I've been feeling a lot lately.
Yeah, look, we all have somebody around us, depending on what your belief systems are. My personal belief system is that it's usually somebody that had some emotional connection with us, whether we knew them here on earth or not. That's just my belief. Other people have other beliefs, and, there's no right or wrong answer to that. But the fact that you're actually starting to feel it, and you're actually working with the energy or the spirit guide or whatever label you want to put on it from the other side, is a good thing. And it's interesting, because I think the more we open ourselves up, the sooner we get the messages, the longer the wait. You could get a feeling today, I need to do this, so you start actively working on it, and then you get disappointed because it didn't pan out the way that you thought or how you felt. And you think, maybe I misinterpreted the message or what was being shared with me. No. What you were doing is you were so good and so methodical that you acted on it straight away, but it wasn't actually meant to come into being until next March, but you've acted on it in July, so it's ahead of its timetable. So just be aware of that. If the best thing I can suggest to you to sort of help develop or enhance the skills that you're starting to work with, your psychic energy, is to try and set aside a little bit of time each day. And whether you call it meditation, or whether you call it a time of focus, or whether you just light a candle and stare into it for a few minutes and allow your mind to go blank, and always use some form of protection. If you're religious, recite something religious. If you're not religious, state a few words that is putting a protection up around you. Some people like to use white light. Some people use other colours. Some people recite the Lord's Prayer. It's a very personal thing. I tend to be one of these people, I don't have a lot of time, and I get bored with things very quickly. So I try and fast track everything that I do like that, and I tend to light a candle. And I focus my energies for a couple of minutes staring into the candle, asking for my protection, asking for the best possible messages I can get for the people that I'm going to be working with or coming on the show or whatever the case may be, so that I know then that not only have we been protected, but the information or the knowledge that's being shared with me by the other person's guides is the best quality it can be. It's the clearest it can be. So that then I sort of know that, and then sometimes I like to sort of, see if there's anything that I'm downloading. If something comes into my mind, and it might sound ridiculous to me, I get my little book out and I put it in my journal with the date, and it might only be a couple of lines. And then, once a month I go back and I read that and see what the messages were that were maybe being shared with me. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. Even though we're psychic, and I've worked in this area over 40 years professionally, it doesn't always mean I have all the answers either. I'm just as naive when it comes to getting messages from spirit as you might be. And you think, oh, how can that be? You should be able to be an expert at it. Yeah, you're an expert at helping other people, but you're not usually good at differentiating for your own stuff, thinking, is that wishful thinking or was that really a message? And what I say to people, if it comes into your mind when you're focusing on the candle, then no, it's not wishful thinking. It is a direct message from your guide. So that's why write it down, how you were feeling emotionally, and take your messages from there. But Heidi, I know that you're on the right track. Just keep going. September's a major turning point for you, and I know that you're definitely on the right track this time. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to do the reading for you. We're just about to wrap up the show. I know the show goes very, very quick, and we'll do it all again in 7 days. Next week we'll have another Simply Tarot card of the week. We'll see what's happening in the universe, and we'll have our second part on Venus, where we will be working with Cancer, Leo and Virgo. So have a great week and keep smiling, and I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.